Hello, 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 and welcome to another SCOUTCAST brought to you by Fantasy Football Scout. As always, you're joined by me, Andy, FPL Mode, and we're also joined by the ever-reliable Hibbo. How's it going, Hibbo?
Not too bad, not too bad. Made a last-minute decision this week to play the triple captain. I was on the road for a football match here in Ireland on Friday, and I had a few beer and had to make my decisions pretty early. So I felt like I kind of rushed one. It didn't really work for me, but no, like in the last few weeks, you've maybe seen a kind of cocky, confident side of me, and I'm not really feeling that way at the minute, to be completely honest. I've got no transfers left. I'm down a triple captainship, but like I get to meet a new friend, that's Mo. So
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, by the way. What do you mean a cocky, confident side? You've been so humble for weeks now.
you think so?
Oh, yeah, no, I haven't mentioned it once in all the group chats I'm in. We are also joined by the ever-lovable Mo. Mo, you've been on once before, I think, with me.
Yes,
and this might be your second time now. So
my second
one more time, and you're going to have your hat-trick ball. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries.
Last time
man.
I covered Hibbo actually. So this time I get to chill.
That.
Yeah, so I get to chill with Sean today. So that's looking forward to that.
Nah, good man. It's absolutely lovely to have you back on. How's your season gone so far?
Not that great. I had a very difficult start to this season actually. So I'm just plodding away. I used like Sean, I used the triple captain this week, and yeah, I think scored the lowest this week. So yeah, it's just been a very difficult start to the season. I'm hoping there's enough time for me to turn it around.
Yeah, Hibbo, stop messing with your camera. I've set all these up, and now you're moving them. That's
Sorry.
Tell you what, these pensioners and technology, it's terrible. Anyway, boys, before we move on to anything else as well, I did just want to say, I'm just looking. So I got the highest score this week. Yeah, I was the only one that didn't. I was the only one that didn't use triple captain. You know that when you use triple captain, you're supposed to get more points, don't you, lads? I'm just double checking that. You know that's how it's supposed to work. Yes.
You sound like Andy Martin.
It didn't take him long, did it? It didn't take him long to get stuck into us straight away.
Oh, I have to. Yeah. Every week I have Hibbo giving me absolute grief, so I have to give it back every now and again. Right, we have got a bumper episode for you tonight because there's been a lot going on in the footballing world. We're going to be looking at our points and looking to see how we got on this week. Some of us got some green arrows, some of us didn't. Some of us got a wee red arrow. Then we're going to be looking at some XA... We're going to be looking at some XA and some XGI tables for the last 6 game weeks. Going to be talking about Manchester United because unless you've been living under a rock, you have seen that Erik ten Hag has been sacked. And it looks like we could have, Man United could have their newest manager coming in very, very soon. We're going to be talking about that a little bit and how it could affect their teams and how it could affect our picks in terms of FPL. We're also, and this is a big thing we're going to be talking about tonight, we're going to be looking at those premium midfielders and Haaland because there's a lot of rumours of people moving Haaland out of their teams. Can they get more premium midfielders into their teams because they seem to be getting a lot of the points? Haaland's having a bit of a dip, so we're going to be talking about those. Going to be looking at some stats, looking at some fixtures and trying to decide who we want to own moving forward and whether Haaland out is what you should be doing. Then we're going to be looking at our bust teams and, right towards the end, and Nacho, hope you're good, mate. I think he's playing a football match tonight, so hopefully he's doing all right. We have got Nacho's Wildcard that we're going to be looking at as well. Now, don't get me wrong, and Hibbo mentioned this before we streamed, he says he's going to wildcard every week. So whether this actually happens or not, I don't know. But I think he's at about 70-30. He's going to be playing it this week, which makes sense because his team looks awful. So I think wildcard looks about right at the moment. But we're going to be getting onto that pretty soon. So before we do anything else, we do have a little bit of an advert here from FanTeam. They've got their Wednesday main event, which is the EFL Cup, £1,500 prize pool. Join the action, £2 entry. Just look at the description underneath our video to see how to enter. Starts Wednesday at 7:30. Make sure you get your entries in by 7:30. But I'm trying to think now, 7:30, so you should know pretty much all of the teams as well, which is quite nice. But you do have a safety net, so if you pick a player that doesn't play, another player will come in for them. That's absolutely fine. begambleaware.org, 18 plus, T's and C's apply. Hashtag ad as well, but make sure you play responsibly. Now, Hibbo and I did actually put some teams in for this, and these are our teams looking at the moment. Hibbo has just gone for the stacks because he loves a stack, whereas I've gone for Dalot and Rashford because they're playing Leicester at home. I've gone for Salah and Nunes for Liverpool playing Brighton. I've gone for Rodgers and Eze. Eze at 6.5 million I thought was an absolute steal. So that's my team, whereas Hibbo, you have gone for triple United in Onana, Dalot and Bruno, obviously backing that clean sheet. But you've also gone for Kelleher, Trent and Salah. So 2 stacks, that's the way you want to play it. Looking nice. Happy with that?
Happy with that. Now, with this, what I'll do is I'll check team sheets. Do you know, like, we get the benefit of confirmed team sheets for this competition. So I'll check again, like, who's lining up in case any of these players are rested. But I like to approach it as, like, either 2 stacks of 3 or 3 stacks of 2 when I'm playing these kind of tournaments.
Yeah,
but
it's not bad.
United against Leicester seems good, and then I think Liverpool away to Brighton. Brighton might rotate, and Liverpool quite attacking. So no, that's it.
Yeah, nice. Right, let's have a look at some points. So my points this week, 66, started off beautifully with Chris Wood getting me a brace on Friday Night Football, 13 points. Just what a gorgeous man. Gorgeous man.
Outstanding.
Speaking of gorgeous men, I did have Flecken in goal, who has, I think he's the only keeper not to keep a clean sheet now this season or something silly like that. So
that's played every game.
Yeah, Flecken with 1 point, Gabriel with 1, who obviously went off injured, Porro with 2, Rico Lewis with 6, Foden with 3. Not going to lie, Foden has been a bit of a disappointment since bringing him in. With those fixtures, I thought I was going to get something nice from him, but only 3 points. And Boomer with 15. Got that last minute goal, which was a cross that obviously went in, but you obviously take it as Mbeumo owners, and there were people that captained him as well. So 15 from him. Rodgers with 1, Palmer with 10, who was my transfer this week. So I did Saka to Palmer, which actually turned out to be a net sum, zero sum move in the end, with both of them getting 10. Wood with 13, Solanke with 2, and Haaland captain with 12. 66 points. I was breaking 1 million before Salah played, but he dropped me down quite a bit. So I'm 1.4 million. I had a nice, what was it? 300k green arrow. So obviously take the green arrow, 66 points. Yeah, Wood was basically the one. Wood was the one that got me the big rise. But obviously, if I hadn't have gone for Palmer and I'd have gone for a Kulusevski or a Son or something like that, Son obviously didn't play, but Kulusevski only got 1 point. It was a massive difference. So very, very happy with 66 points this week. Didn't play the triple captainship, which I had no interest in playing the triple captainship this week. But Hibbo, you did play the triple captainship this week and got less points than me. Talk us through it.
You're so painful. So 61 points for me. Triple captain played, and a red arrow, so I dropped 50k down from 168k to 215k. So like, put that in your mouth and smoke it, because I'm far better than you still. So anyway, overall, the position doesn't look too bad. But when I look at a lot of players on Twitter that are in the mire in terms of rank, like, I'm still not really fully happy with my team. Now, I had 2 frees, and due to the injury, the Son, I did Trent and Son, DePoro and Palmer. Now, like, it felt okay because, Son was injured. I had a different route to go. I could have went Gabriel to Aitnuri rather than doing Trent DePoro. And it might have been better off because I would have had Trent for a long term rather than having sold him. But no, just to go through my points from back to front. So I had Flecken and goal with 1 point. I said last week he had a favourable fixture and he was going to mess it up, and he did. I had Rico Lewis's clean sheet, so 6. Porro with 2, Gabriel with 1. Boomo had the 15-pointer. See, if you don't have Boomo in your team at the minute, you might as well just delete your team. No, like, honestly, like, he's just like the most obvious. But no, he's the most obvious pick in the game. Like, he's ridiculous value for what he's doing. Like, Palmer was a new signing, 10-pointer, happy with that. Could have been more. He had the goal ruled out offside for VAR. He nearly had a penalty, but it got chalked off by VAR as well. So, like, Stockley Park, we don't like those guys. We had Foden's 3, Rodgers with 1, up top, Haaland's goal, no bonus. So 18 for the TC. We'll call it a fail because I'm man enough to accept my defeats and my wrongs. DCL with 2, Solanke with 2. The logic behind the triple captain was this. I think expected double game weeks this season, XDGW, is going to be about 2. That's the expectation. Now, we might get a small third one thrown in, but the teams could be random. We have bench boost, we have triple captain, we've got free hit, we've got mystery chip. I kind of felt something had to give. And then when we look at the single game XG, and Haaland that upwards of 2 XG against Southampton, he missed 3 big chances. The chance was there. They match Ipswich. It didn't happen. I don't like to cry over spilt milk, and we just move on. People. I think the trouble captainship, you can place too much faith on it. Because in seasons gone by, I've got 8 points from triple captain. I've got double blanks from triple captain. There's been some big ones, don't get me wrong, but no, it's not great, but we move on.
Well, Mo, I'll just move on to you and I'll put your points up. Before you talk us through your points this week, which was 64, not bad. Made sure Hibbo was bottom this week, which was lovely. Triple captain, do you think, obviously, Hibbo just hit the nail on the head there. He got over 2 XG, which is just ridiculous. If you'd have said that before the game started, I think everybody would have triple captained and it still had it. But what do you think? Triple captain, 18 points, you're happy with that? Do you think it was the right decision?
Yeah, it was the right decision because, like you said, he had 2.33 XG. He could have scored a hat trick. We would all be smiling. It would have been the bonus points. It would have been the feast that the people that went early when they went against Ipswich. It would have been similar to that. So it would have been a success. When you judge it by the outcome, it looks a bit harsh. No bonus points against, and the amount of chances he had. Yeah. I mean, I used it personally because as I've had a difficult start to the season, I was thinking this could inject some confidence into the team, hopefully, and just kickstart this season. But even that didn't work. I scored lower than you without while using the triple captain. So from that perspective, it wasn't great. But I will say this, Hibbo just said, I've used triple captain many times and it's been 3 pointers or something silly like that. So it could have been worse. Of course, could have been much better. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of where the triple captain is, I always look at it as the most fun chip, but it's probably one of the worst chips, if that makes sense, value-wise. But I enjoy the triple captain. I find it quite fun, obviously, utilizing it. But I've used it many times last game of the season as well, and I've had some good success with that. But yeah, this game week, I'll take it as a meh.
Yeah, and 64 points this week. Some similar players to what we've said so far, but obviously Mbumo and Palmer coming up big for you, and Sells getting an assist.
Sells has been a star. So I bought Sells in a couple of weeks back, and in fact, Wildcard 5, what am I talking about? I was going to go Flecken, and it was the last minute decision. I changed it. I thought, I can't go Flecken. Brentford's defending. Fortunately, that's one of the things that's come off. So I'm happy about that. An assist. Last week, he was the star. He saved my game week. He got that 11 points. And this week, somehow, he's managed an assist. I will take that. So Trent, who a lot of people have jumped off, I've kept faith with him, albeit the double blank. I'm hoping if the fixtures change now, we could start repaying the faith. Lewis and Gabriel, like you guys, obviously. Foden, you've had him for longer, Andy. I've just jumped on last week. So last week, I used 3 transfers. I really went for it. Got rid of Diaz, got rid of Saka, and Foden and Palmer came in. Palmer repaid it. At least he matched. Where Foden got more than Diaz. let's try to take the positives. But Rodgers with the blank. Up top, my biggest problem in the team is Calvert-Lewin. Me and Hibbo were talking earlier on. He's been a real pain. The swing compared to your star, Haaland Mark II, Chris Wood. I wish I went there. I was so close. So that 50-50 really hurts. Sort of how my season's gone. And Raul Jimenez is who I bought in as well last week. So he made up the third. I was upset with the blank, but his statistics, as we will see later on, are really, really good. So I'm happy with him as a move.
Yeah. No, like you said, the swing between going Calvert-Lewin or the Kiwi Kane in Chris Wood has been absolutely ridiculous. And I do feel for those people that went for Calvert-Lewin because on pens, playing the minutes, and obviously their fixtures have been lovely, but it just hasn't worked. Whereas Chris Wood seems to be scoring from his only, well, I say from his only shots on target, but the goals that you wouldn't expect him to score sometimes as well. But it's been quite a big swing, that one. Let's have a look at some XA so far then for the last 6 game weeks, and there are some new names on here. Top of the list this week is Damsgaard from Brentford, Savio in second for Man City, 2 names we haven't really seen much on this table this season so far. Saka in third, Jimenez in fourth, then Jared Bowen, Iwobi, Caicedo, who does seem to be racking up the XA so far this season, Bruno Fernandes, Kulusevski, Palmer, Tielemans, Lewis Hall, who is our first defender on this list, I think. Then Phil Foden, Salah, and Morgan Rogers doing that there. Mo, if I just ask you very quickly, Savio for City, if you haven't got, say, a Foden, and you're looking to maybe get a City player in that's cheap, and you can get him in if you're looking to move off Haaland and go to Salah. Is Savio somebody you can look to get in? Do you think he's got that spot nailed now, and he's obviously going to start reaping the rewards from all that XA he's building up?
I mean, at one stage I was actually considering him, but I was just unsure with the minutes. But then you could argue, how sure was I with Phil Foden?
Yeah.
I gambled there, to be fair, player of the season last year, and he's hardly featured. So to answer your question, I think he is actually becoming an option. He's starting to lock that side down. It's helped with the injuries City have had.
Yeah.
So there's less competition. It would be interesting to see when Pep's got the full all of these cards available to him. We're not sure, but good price for a City attack. And like you said, putting up those stats, definitely someone to start considering.
Yeah, definitely. And Hibbo, Saka's third on this list. What do you make of this? Like, so many people got rid of Saka. I got rid of Saka because I didn't think he was going to play with all the comments. Arteta is known as being so unreliable with what he says, in terms of he's basically just saying things to, hurt other managers and make it so they don't know what team he's going to play or whatever it is he's doing. But Saka, third on this list for XA, scored at the weekend as well. We don't want to go into it in too much detail because we're going to be talking about these premium mids later. But what do you make of the whole, should you have got rid of him? Should you have waited? Like, was there a right way of doing this or not?
I think you just sometimes have to gamble and it works. And sometimes you see Saka, and I kind of see him very much on the best team that you can pick in FPL. I think we would probably universally agree that. Whether you go down the Haaland route, and we'll touch on this later, or whether you decide to go for the big midfield, I think he's definitely in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think selling him last week, which I did, curtail move, inverted commas, I think that was a gamble, and I think selling him this week was a bit of a gamble as well. So, I think if you sold him this week, people got a bit unlucky, but he's a very consistent performer in this table. He comes up every week. Yeah. He's sitting nearly top 3 or 4 every single week. So I think he's the kind of player we're all going to move towards getting him back in our team very much for a long term, because we've all spent wildcards. Transfers aren't infinite, so we have to start locking down the best team, and it kind of feels like Palmer, Saka, boys like that, they're very much on that.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a really tough one with him, and I think those people that made the move, you can completely understand, and actually all those that made the move, you can understand it more, those people that did it the week before as well, which is what we were saying last week. But it was so tough, those people that maybe moved off him for, say, like a Foden, or I saw other people move off him for, say, a Spurs mid, and that does feel a bit mean when you think, obviously, he then ended up starting and scoring early as well. Mo, you've obviously got Calvert-Lewin in your team, someone that is doing very well all of a sudden, and he's fourth on this table, 1.77 XA in the last 6 game weeks, Raul Jimenez. We thought it was all going to be Muniz that started this season, and obviously it was, and then all of a sudden Raul's come back and he's having a right resurgence. Are you tempted to move from DCL to someone like Jimenez, or you got other people in your mind?
Well, I've already got Raul Jimenez. I bought him in as one of my transfers, so to answer your question, 100%, he's a perfect replacement, because he's having a really good season, and I'm happy to see that, because I liked him as a player, but after that injury, obviously we've seen his form completely deteriorate. But this season he looks back to his best, and it's not just, these stats here show it, it's not just his goal threat, it's his assist threat. If you see, a lot of his teammates fluff the chances, but he should have had a couple of assists and a goal this weekend. So for me, he does look a really good pick. I mean, I hope he delivers and doesn't do a DCL and just give us the numbers and not actually but I really like him as a pick. I think him and Cunha maybe the two, if he was going to get rid of DCL, they're the two that I really like.
Yeah, nice. And you've mentioned Cunha there. We obviously ought to say as well that there was a few little pics of him maybe not being able to play midweek, but we think he maybe should be okay for the weekend, but we just have to keep an eye on that, I think. Hibbo, Kulusevski's also on this table. A lot of people moved to Spurs mids this week. I was extremely close. Do you think that was a little bit in error based on what we saw this weekend? Are they quite an inconsistent team, and maybe having one of their assets is fine, but doubling up, tripling up, maybe not the way to go with Spurs at the moment?
It's in hindsight, it's looking that way. When we're looking back retrospectively, it's looking like a mistake. But I think if you're going to look at a team that has a pretty nice kind of 4-game week block of fixtures, we're going to attack it. There's still the good stuff to come for Spurs. They're going to have Ipswich at home. They're going to have Fulham at home, I think. They've a bit of Man City in there as well, which obviously isn't as good. But that's the bet we're making. It's kind of the short, the mid-term. So, no, it's not looking great. It's not looking great for Solanke, because I think if we compound his XG up over 3 game weeks, I saw a stat that it was like 0.1 over 3 game weeks XG,
Yeah.
which is just incredibly terrible. And like, you know, we thought we were getting on a Spurs team that was creating a lot of chances that at the time was top in the league for XG, and they've kind of flattered to see. But the feeling for me is like would I stay on Kulusevski? I don't know. I'd be kind of tempted to come off somebody to come, if I'm being totally honest. But like the premium, well, Solanke stays in my team for the foreseeable mid-term anyway, and then we move him on. Like I'm not going to sell him before the good fixtures, even though they haven't been great.
Well, I've just brought up the XGI table. So on the XGI table over the last 6 game weeks, he's 6th. So we've got Erling Haaland at the top there at 5.24 XGI in the last 6 game weeks. Then Nico Jackson with 4.06. Cole Palmer. So Chelsea, you know, Jackson and Palmer are just gobbling up the XGI. Brennan Johnson in 4th. Jimenez, Mo's man in 5th there. Dominic Solanke in 6th. Then Traore, Archer, Welbeck, Savio is on this list as well. Ollie Watkins, Kulusevski, Saka, Havertz, and Bruno Fernandes rounding it off at the end there. So you've just mentioned there, obviously, about Spurs. And Mo, I'd love to get your take on Spurs, because all of a sudden, like I said, last week it was jump on them. And then this week it's like that nobody's talking about them, because obviously they didn't have a great result this week, and they didn't obviously score. What's your take on Solanke first? And also, what's your take on some of the mids? Because Brennan Johnson, Kulusevski, Solanke, they're all on here. But everybody I'm looking at and saying Solanke's such an issue in my team. What do you think?
First of all, you know us FPL managers, we're a fickle bunch.
Yeah,
One week you do well, we're piling in. The next week they have a bad game or have a poor game. And then it's like, get rid of them, they're rubbish. But I'm somewhere in between. I mean, Dominic Solanke, if I owned him, I think I'd be more worried than DCL. I'm not that convinced. Yeah, it's obviously Spurs attacking statistics as a team are very good. I know he features up here with the involvement, but I'm not quite sure. I'm really, especially when you look at the cheaper ones returning, I'm not too convinced. Brennan Johnson, for his price, and he's clicking up the minutes, it seems to be in Ange's good books in the starting position. I don't mind him. Son is one of my favourites, obviously, because of the penalties, and you know he's just a quality player. But I'm not too. As you could tell in my team, I'm not just saying it and not doing it. I don't have no Spurs, so that tells you I'm fully committed. I'm not too convinced with them.
Yeah, it's because it's interesting looking at this table that we've got up here from the XGI from the last 6 game weeks, because although Dominic Solanke's definitely got the XGI from the last 6, if you look at the shots and key passes, he's second worst behind Cameron Archer. Everybody else is over 20. He's on 14. And when you look at someone like Erling Haaland or even someone like Kulusevski, they're at 32s, 34s, Cole Palmer, and then Solanke's on 14. Like, he's obviously getting some of the shots, but it's just not really working with him at the moment. But you look at those fixtures, 11 and 13, Ipswich and Southampton, you just can't ignore him. So if I'm thinking, Mo's right, if you haven't got him, I don't think you're going to be buying him. But if you've got him, I can't see how you can move off him with everything else you've got, unless it's freeing up funds to be able to move up to another premium. I mean, Hibbo, if you had him, which you do have him, just like I do, surely you can't move off him before those fixtures, despite what we're seeing.
No, I've absolutely no interest in moving off him. And like, it's, as I've said, it's purely a fixture play. You know, I don't think the immediate fixture against Villa is really that appealing. You know, they're a Champions League standard side, even though the game's at home for Spurs. Now, what I will say is, like that Ipswich game, the Fulham game, there are games I'm looking to target. Now, the one thing I'll say about Solanke is, I'll give him Ipswich. If he absolutely stinks, I might sell him before Man City. Do you know, like that's a reality. And I think Mo makes a great point. Is there's players on around 6. Do you know, we're talking about Chris Wood and boys like that on around 6. There's more value in around 6 in the forwards than there is in midfield. You know, and this is kind of, we'll touch on this later, but this is kind of fueling this whole debate of, do you go no Haaland? Because like you can drop the forwards down and you can have this kind of big kind of shithouse midfield and still have good defenders, if you know what I mean. So I think the balance is there. I think that's probably what looks like being optimal at the moment or whatever. But he's going to get the next 2 definitely for me, Solanke, and then it's squeaky bum time. We might move off.
FPL Harry's in the chat saying, surely Cunha can outscore Solanke in the next 2. So Mo, what do you think? Who would you rather own moving forward, Cunha or Solanke?
Cunha, definitely. Like that one's easy for me.
Yeah.
Even if there was no price, forget even the pricing. It's just Cunha's statistics at the moment, his involvement. He's a really good player. Without being disrespectful to Wolves fans, I'm not even sure how they got him. He's actually a really good player there. So I'll take him.
I feel like Solanke's moving into that hope rather than expect range, if that makes sense. Like you're going into a fixture and just hoping he does something, as opposed to like Chris Wood owners are just expecting it every week now. Well, no, Chris Wood non-owners are expecting it every week, aren't they?
Well, because he scores every week. That's why.
Exactly. Hibbo's face look. Oh,
No, but I think that
no.
I think that Solanke Cunha comparison is grand just on the face of it, because the reality is like we have transfers and we have to use them in different points of your team at the minute. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, you might have kind of, as Mo's kind of said before the pod, you might have major fires to put out, and that might seem like a wee bit of a luxury move now, depending on how you want to take your team going forward. Because as we're going to get into it later in the pod, like Haaland to Salah, 2 moves is kind of very vogue.
Yeah.
Although it seems to be like a kind of Twitter vogue, because the sales out for Haaland are huge, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, big time.
Whereas it looks on Twitter as if everybody's doing it. So
yeah. Got him, Mo. Just very, very quickly, I'll say a few strikers. You tell me whether you'd prefer them over Solanke. So the first one is Cunha. You said yes, yeah?
Yeah.
Second one, Calvert-Lewin or Solanke?
No.
No.
He's the bottom of the pile, I think. Yeah.
That's fine. I thought you meant no as in you wouldn't have either.
I haven't.
Yeah, that's the right answer. I don't want any of them, but yeah.
What about Wissa?
Wissa, yeah, it's not bad. He was actually an option before he got injured, so it's good to see him back, and he was back straight in with the goals. Yeah, I do like him as well.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on Opta giving Wissa the second goal? Because he's been credited with a second goal now.
It was... The
And
rules
the
have
whole
always
point-
been the same.
I know the rules have always been the same, but right, FPL kind of changed the rules this season. They say we're going to lock in only on the final day of the game week, so they can still make these changes rather than the same day to kind of prevent the Sully march. But they haven't really prevented anything, because like this scenario here, like it's a day or two later and like he's suddenly been given a second goal.
I don't know why it takes that long. I don't know why it takes that long to say whether it's a
Same.
goal or not.
Same.
That's the thing that I
It's
can't.
confusing
Yeah, really weird.
and frustrating when it's one of your players involved. I mean, I was actually sweating it, guys. I thought they were going to 2 days later remove Sale's assist somehow. I was like, oh my God. Wednesday morning, I find out the 5 points is gone. But yeah, thankfully.
Who would have got the assist for Wissa if it was a goal?
Was it Damsgaard?
Was it?
I
don't know who it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not right.
I still feel as if I was unlucky to lose that Son assist that he got a couple of weeks back. And I think it was the kind of leading content creators that campaigned against that. Like Harry in the chat.
Harry got onto the phone straight direct.
Goodness me. Goodness me.
FPL.
Wrong FPL tires.
Speaking of disgusting, we do have news. Obviously, it came out. God, I can't remember when it came out now. Was it this morning or yesterday? Can't remember. That Ten Hag has left Manchester United, and it looks like Amorim from Sporting Lisbon is the man that we have. I see we, because obviously I'm a United fan, have targeted as being the manager that we want to bring into the club. It looks like it's going to happen. When it happens is another story, whether it's in the next couple of weeks or not. But it looks like it's going to happen. Now, the key things there that we want to look at is how will this affect us. Now, don't get me wrong. This will probably be a wait and see anyway. And obviously, Ruud van Nistelrooy's got the job to start with as interim manager. Whether that's just for midweek or whether that's for a couple of weeks, we don't know. But the one key thing you can say about Amorim is the fact he plays a 3-4-3. Now, this has been quite widely publicised that this is the formation he plays. And obviously, you only have to watch Sporting Lisbon a couple of times to realise that's how he plays. And on the screen here is the 3-4-3 formation based on who United have available at the moment. And as you can see, it doesn't look great. So there's Onana in goal. Martinez, De Ligt and Lindelof at the back. Well, now Lindelof's there because everybody's injured at the moment, but you'd think that Yoro would come in there. Martinez playing on the left, Yoro on the right, and then De Ligt in the middle. Martinez, you'd be assuming, would have that ability to be able to go into midfield a little bit and try and help on transition, which has been a massive issue for United for quite a few years now. They got Dalot right wing back, which could be very, very interesting. And then Amas left wing back at the moment, mainly because he likes promoting youth and because Luke Shaw and Malacia would have to come back from the dead to be able to do that. So then we've got Ugarte, who you would assume, because he knows Ugarte, that he would be playing to start with, and then either Casemiro, Eriksen, Mainu eventually. And then it's Haaland, Rashford, you've got Garnacho that could play on the left, but Bruno seems to be a bit of an issue in this formation in terms of where he would fit him in. Now, you'd assume that Bruno would eventually play in the middle, but you're not really going to get that protection from Bruno, which I think would be a massive issue. Playing him on the left doesn't seem ideal, but these wingers do tend to play inside forward roles, and it's the wing backs that tend to get you the creativity and the attacking upside. So this is roughly looking at it. I mean, he hasn't even got the job yet, but this is roughly how it could look. But this is me coming as a United fan. I think this is going to take time. And I don't think this is going to be any kind of a new manager bounce. I'm not going to be jumping on United. They've got some nice fixtures coming up, but there's way too many question marks for me. Don't get me wrong, Amorim for Sporting has been absolutely incredible. He scored so many goals. I think they've got 30 goals in 9 games so far this season. He's great in terms of conceding goals as well. He doesn't concede a lot. He's great in terms of transition and resisting the press. He's got loads of that. Don't get me wrong, this is the Portugal League, but this is looking very, very good for him, and it looks like a good appointment. But how it fits with the team, how it fits with coming into England, getting all the pressure, needing to do things very, very quickly, I'm not sure. So I'm sitting firmly on the fence here and getting splinters on my bum, but I'm looking at this and thinking, I'm not sure how this is going to work. Depending on which article you read, it's saying we've got the perfect team for it. Another article saying not really. So I'm struggling a little bit. I mean, Mo, what do you think looking at this? Do you think, yep, new manager bounce, I'm getting on these United players, or is this a wait and see for you?
Nah, it's a wait and see. And what article you read saying you've got the perfect team or plays for it? That's a crazy article, because that squad still looks unbalanced to me. But as for Bruno, I don't think we should get caught up the formation and positions when you've got a top bracket player, and Bruno is one. I know he's frustrated this season, but he's a top bracket player, and a manager will fit him in. Same with, I remember Pep when he had Fabregas and he had that amazing front three. He still fitted him in. You find space for elite players, and I think he'll play. He could be an interesting one, like you said, if he plays in the inside forward role and he gets permission, obviously running in at specific angles to curl him in and get assists. But the real problem is the same players are still there. The players that can't finish. Bruno was creating chances at the start of the season. So a new manager, a new formation, is he going to magically make players start finishing their chances? That's the real problem. You saw even this weekend, that's what got Ten Hag to sack. Did you see Dalot Smith?
Terrible. I know.
I mean, what can that manager do? Is he going to say to him, don't just, there's the goal. I mean, it's basics that really, eventually, even his shoulders are going to go down if they're not finishing their chances. So, yeah, I think it's a wait and see, to be honest.
Yeah, do you agree with that, Hibbo? Is it a wait and see, or do you like jumping on these players before a new manager bounce?
No, I don't really think jumping on's the way. But like, if we look at the United fixtures, they're actually quite good in the short term.
Yeah.
You know, they've got Chelsea this week, but then you're talking Leicester at home, Ipswich away, and then Everton at home. So those three are nice. But like Amorim, he has to get the job first. Do you know? We don't know what kind of how long he has to give his current employer, like before he comes to United. Like, is it going to be a couple of weeks? Is it going to be straight away? So I think it remains to be seen now. Like in this system, like if the wing backs are wide and high, Mo makes a good point. Like maybe that left hand side, he's not strictly left wing. Maybe he plays more on the inside. If Fernandes does play there, I think he could maybe play as an 8 as well. But like, I'm no expert in this system. But no, from a fantasy perspective, I think very much a wait and see from me. Like, you know, I nearly would have preferred a kind of short period of Ruud from the story. Do you know? Yeah. And then I would have been more inclined to jump on Bruno for the 3 games, because I think Ruud would have just kind of championed Bruno and made space for him, as Mo says. But no, I think very much like we'll just wait.
Yeah, I think it's a wait. I think a lot of people are already mentioning Dalot, because that right wing back spot could be quite nice to see what he can do. But I agree. I think it's a wait and see, and just see what happens in the first couple of games to see how he sets up, because he's always been very flexible as a manager as well. So it could be that he changes it up and he does something completely different. So, but I do think wait and see. Right, moving on to the main section tonight, and that is all about these premium midfielders and Haaland. Now, when we were chatting this morning, I said to Hibbo, we need some kind of a table that shows the stats for these midfielders and for Haaland, because people are starting to move off of Erling Haaland and starting to put some funds into their midfield, especially for a certain Egyptian Liverpool winger. Now, this is the table that Hibbo made for us. So this is the premium analysis based on this season so far. So this is how they perform so far. Now, Erling Haaland is top for XGI at 7.87. Cole Palmer is second with 6.88. Salah with 5.65. Saka with 4.91. And Son is in Fifth there with 3.87, but obviously played considerably less minutes at only 560 minutes compared to Haaland's 895. They actually go in the exact same order for XGI per 90 as well. Haaland with 0.79, Palmer 0.71, Salah and Saka on the same, 0.62, and then Son on 0.59. So Son obviously does get a bit of a boost there with the per 90. When you look at their actual returns though, Haaland 11 goals, 0 assists, Palmer, what's he got there? 12 returns so far this season. Salah with 11, Saka with 10, and Son only with 5. Now, the reason I'm mentioning all that is just to show that they're all performing well. And obviously Son hasn't had as long to do it, but is performing quite well as well. We cannot fit all 5 into our teams without having only 4 million players everywhere else. So we have to decide which ones to go for. Now, the issue we've had so far this season is that people have tried to jump on, jump off at different times with different fixture swings. And unfortunately, that hasn't actually worked very well for managers. And they've tended to miss the big swings from a lot of those players. For instance, people didn't start with Haaland. They started with Salah. Haaland killed it. Then they moved from Salah to Haaland. Salah killed it. Haaland slowed down. Now they're thinking of moving again and moving from Haaland to Salah because Haaland's slowing down. Now, Mo, I'm going to go to you first. What's your take on this so far this season? And what do you think the play is moving forward? Is it just set and forget and stop trying to hokey cokey? Or is it, no, still play the fixtures because it will come good eventually? What's your kind of take on it so far?
At the moment, I'm tempted to say the big man stays in, even if he's expensive price and he's difficult fixtures. I can see why people are starting to do the maths and looking at the different possibilities, because Spurs, Liverpool, Nottingham Forest coming up, they're not the easiest fixtures, solid defensive teams. But Haaland's that player. It's hard to, he had 3 blanks in a row. That's persuaded people and started to convince people maybe you can go without him. And at that same time, the midfielders are flourishing. But he's the same player that just a couple of weeks ago we was thinking he's ruined the game. He's just back-to-back hat-trick. So I've not completely, his ratio for scoring City's goals, it's ridiculous. He's like, 30-40% involvement. If City score, it's normally him. Where the others, at least there is some play. I know Palmer and the premiums you've got on show there, they are the main guys for the teams, but I don't think their ratio is ever going to be as close as Haaland. So it makes it difficult. I think at the moment, the play, me currently, is Haaland and 2 of those. Yeah. And then you have to rotate 2. That's my take. But a lot of people will be making movements, and it's going to be, can you imagine watching Manchester City in those games when you don't own him? Yeah. And also, you've got a gamble with the captain. Well, not gamble, but you've got a bit more of a decision to make. Where with Haaland, it's boring, you can just leave it on him. That's, I think, some of the differeces as well.
So if we bring up the fixtures, so bless him, Lego Mane did this for us last week, but it hasn't updated yet because it's only Tuesday. So it's still got Game Week 9 on there. But from Game Week 10 onwards, you can see the captaincy matrix here. It's got Haaland, Saka, Salah. It's also got Watkins and Bruno and Isak on here, but it's got Son and Palmer too. Now, Mo, you just mentioned there you'd have Haaland and you'd have 2 of the mids. Yeah. Looking at the fixtures, looking at the stats we've had so far, who would those 2 mids be if you would pick right now?
Let's have a look at the fixtures. One of them was definitely Palmer, so it's between the others. And if price is not an issue here, I would still take Salah over Saka. But Palmer, for me, I think Palmer, I think we've seen enough now. At one stage, I thought maybe we were getting a bit too carried away because the season he had last season was ridiculous. I didn't think he could sustain that, but he's putting up the numbers and he's not even getting the penalties.
Yeah.
So he is the real deal now, and Chelsea's attack looks really good as well. So I think Haaland, Palmer, then after that it's tight. If you're not worried about the money, I'll take Salah.
Yeah. I mean, Hibbo, it's weird. Like, you know the meme of the dragons and they're all looking scary and one of them's looking goofy. It feels like that with Son, bless him. It feels like we always drop Son off of this list. And obviously whether that's right or wrong with the fact he's got Ipswich at home, Fulham at home and 11 and 13, whether we should be saying that or not. But Mo's just said the 3 that I would have. Haaland, Salah and Palmer would be my 3 if money was no issue and I could move funds around and start from scratch. But that's leaving Saka out, and we've just seen this week what Saka can do, and it feels horrendous leaving Saka out. Do you get to, say, Game Week 12, when Saka has Nottingham Forest at home and then West Ham away, do you get to there and move one of them? Do you move Salah to Saka that week, or do you just think you just keep with the same players or for as long as possible?
Well, looking at these premiums, I think that Haaland, Palmer, and Salah is like too stretched. I just think that's too much money. Like, it's, and I said this at the start of the season when we were talking about this. I felt like the Haaland Salah team was possible when really nobody really felt that way. People were saying, oh, I'll start with Diaz or I'll start with Jota as a replacement for Salah. But I felt that was possible. And then I nearly felt that people went too far. They were saying, oh, I'll take the Haaland and Salah team, but now I'll inject Palmer on there. Like, I think Haaland, Palmer, Saka works as a team, or I think Palmer, Salah, Saka, maybe Son and Trent. And I think that's the appeal of potentially ditching Haaland. You could have these four, and you could maybe also have Trent as well. And that's why managers are maybe taking a chance. Although I'd agree with Mo's point. You're more inclined to have to make a decision with your captaincy. But looking at the next couple of fixtures, Bournemouth's potentially tricky, but it's not a scary fixture. It's away. They're tight. Brighton have showed themselves to be I think, fairly wide open.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about Haaland. And I think Spurs, geez, he could murder Spurs. Like, I think the space between the centre-backs is just, I think that's an ideal fixture for me, for Haaland. So on the face of it, you look at those three, and like people are very confident at the minute about making the double move. And I think your confidence is going to be driven by how many transfers you have. If you have 2+ transfers, you're going to be sitting here now saying, oh, I could make that move, that's not a problem. But like, I have one transfer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to obviously defend my position and say, no, I'm going to stay on Haaland. But I think if I was Wildcard and if I was in Callum's position, and we'll touch on him later, but I think I would probably drop Haaland if I had unlimited moves.
So you've obviously just mentioned there about Brighton being a nice fixture. Salah has Brighton at home this week. Lewis Dunk's not playing. That's, to me, screams the best captaincy choice this week. Like out of all of them. And actually, if you look at the rest of the fixtures, Saka's got Newcastle away. Son's got Aston Villa at home, which Villa have been good defensively. Palmer's got Man United away, which could be 4 goals for him, to be fair. It looks like Salah is the best captaincy choice this week. Is that enough of a reason if you've got 2 free transfers to move things around?
I think if I had 2 free transfers, I would do it in a heartbeat. But I don't. So that, I have to kind of look to the future now and say, well, how do I get my team in the right spot again? I've dwindled down my free transfer balance, but I can't make that move this week. Do I bank a transfer this week? Hope that I can match it and then make the move the week after. That's kind of how I feel at the minute. But no, I do accept your point. And like whenever I come to rate Captain Sensible later in the week, like Salah's going to feature huge in this. And like if we look at Salah's data, like he's well up there. Like, he's got like 11 attacking returns. His XA is good, his XG is good. Like, we know he can create as well as he can score goals. He's got the pens. He's got so many plus points. But I think this conversation boils down to price. It boils down to 15.4 million or whatever your selling price is for Haaland. And the comparison being, all right, Palmer's up to 11 now. Salah's 12.5. Saka's 10. Son's under 10. But you can maybe go for them 4 boys and still not have like a stretch team, because you've got those nice 6 mil forwards. Yeah. You've got decent defenders in kind of Gabriel, Raya, and people like that, although Raya hasn't been great recently. But you can set up a really good team for a long term. But it's how much do you like engaging with risk? I think that's the question. It's, and most touching that. Do you want to watch a Man City match with no Haaland in your team and maybe have a heart attack every game? But that's what Ben Crell's doing every week at the moment. Personally, I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing it, and it's like, seeing the fixtures that they've backed against Haaland, I wouldn't have backed against him in a million years. You were talking Southampton at home, you're talking the Wolves. That's just been the dream result, and then now those teams are kind of moving into being in a better position than us, because they're well set now for the long term, but they've won the last 3 or 4 game weeks over us as well, which by rights, like Southampton, they should have been destroyed by Haaland against Southampton. But
yeah, exactly. So that's an extreme amount of luck, though, isn't it? Like, to have not had Haaland against Southampton, for him to put up 2 XG, and for people to be triple captaining him, that is just pure luck, surely, just pure variance working in their favour.
Yeah, spot on. That's what FPL, you can't control every element of it, and it's painful when the luck doesn't land on you. So when you look at it from this and you think, oh, he only got us 1 goal, well, really, he should have had a hat-trick. Yeah. We've seen him score a hat-trick with less XG, so it was quite frustrating.
Yeah. And Mo, the other thing I was going to mention as well, because I'll bring the fixtures up again. If you moved off Haaland, when do you bring him back? And not only when do you bring him back, how do you bring him back? Because if you invest in Saka, Salah, Palmer, how on earth are you going to move funds around by the time, say, for instance, if you wanted to move back on him in 14 and 15, Nottingham Forest at home, Crystal Palace away, how do you get him back? Like, do you just go, I'm not going to have Haaland now until 18? Like, what do you do? Do you reckon?
Commit. Well, you'd have to, when you commit to it, at least for 3, 4, 5 weeks where you can build up the transfers. I mean, to be fair, we're saying no Haaland, which is hideous, but then you've got the 3 premium midfielders, and they've been flying. And midfielders rack up the points much more easier than a forward. Yeah. His hat trick is just 2 goals for those guys, practically. So yeah, it can be done. You just have to be brave. And we've seen, like Hibbo said earlier on, there's other managers out there that have shown us this season they've gone without him and they're flying. So it definitely can be done. I think the fear in us when we know Haaland and we know City, they're going to be up there with the top goal scorers, and who scores all their goals, it's him. That just lives in our head. But every week you go against him, if you pick the right captain, 2 of those 3 midfielders, if you went down that avenue, should repay you back. They've been that strong. I'm not including Son in that, because the reason we don't speak about Son as much, it's just personally because Spurs are more liable to let you down. Where Chelsea this season, I've already shown they're going to be strong. They're getting stronger week by week, and Liverpool and Arsenal, of course, like Premier League candidates. So that's the reason Son's a bit further down. But if you do it, to answer your question, I think you just have to give it 3, 4, 5 weeks where you can build up the transfers, and then you can make it happen. Yeah, you can undo the work, by bringing them in.
I mean, there's no way I'm selling Haaland, because I'm watching him on Saturday against Bournemouth. So I don't want to be sat there in the stadium watching Haaland destroy me. So that won't be happening for me. But I am looking at that. I think I've mentioned this a couple of times this year, that I do feel like Salah's dropped down a tier for me in terms of captaincy. I feel like Haaland and Palmer are in that top tier for me. They're the ones that I can see getting 24, 25 points in a game week. Am I wrong there, Hibbo, in thinking that Salah's not really there anymore in terms of a haul? Like, he'll get a goal and assist, or he can obviously, he's on pens, and even against Chelsea we saw that he could have had a second pen. Like, do we feel that Salah's still up there in terms of captaincy? Obviously with the fixtures, it's quite nice, but do you feel like he's there with Haaland and Palmer?
Right in the mix.
Yeah.
And I feel the same about Saka as well, although
you?
We've got you get this narrative in the FPL community about Saka's not explosive. I don't, give him the right fixture and he's plenty explosive, but I definitely feel with Salah, and I think Mo hits the nail in the head, like these muds, and it's such like a basic point, an extra point for a clean sheet, an extra point for a goal. You get these people like Salah that create a lot of chances in games. So sometimes all he has to do is just score you a goal in a clean sheet game, and he's got 10 points, and like that's what Palmer did against Newcastle. He went and scored 1 goal. He got 10 pointer, and I think Salah's got that. But does Salah have the potential to get multiple returns in games? I think, of course. And the way they're set up at the minute, he can create the chances. He can take his own. He's got the pen. So no, I would have no fear about him as like where he stands in that captaincy conversation. I think he's right in the mix with maybe the top kind of 4 players in the game. But then it's about risk too, because his ownership's not really saturated. Haaland's is. I know you're starting to see people claim off, but like there's good gains to be made in somebody like Salah, and then if you can bag the armband on him, all the better. And like Southampton coming up, I think is going to be an interesting one, even though it's an away game.
Yeah,
he could be getting a good bit of differential Salah for that game, and he's a big option that week, I think.
Yeah,
they're terrible. Okay. How did you get tickets for Bournemouth?
My mate's a Bournemouth season ticket holder, so I go quite a lot. Yeah,
I thought you were going to say so rare.
No. So
you want the hookup, yeah?
So yeah, exactly. So I got 3 questions for each of you, and they could be really quick as well, because I want to move off this section now, because I think we've done this a lot of justice. So the three questions for you are: first one is, so Hibbo, like I said, really quick if you want to. If you had 1 free transfer, would you take a hit to move Haaland to Salah?
Definitely not.
Mo?
No.
So Hibbo, second question: if you had 2 free transfers, would you move Haaland to Salah?
Yes, firmly.
Oh.
Firmly.
Mo, would you?
I'm not sure this week, actually. I know you're excited, Hibbo, over Salah against Brighton, but I'm not sure if I'll do it this week. I like the Bournemouth fixture for Man City. I would want to keep Haaland for this. I think I can understand after this week maybe make the move. Yeah. But I do like this Bournemouth fixture.
Yeah. And then last question is, tell me which 3 of these premiums you would have now, Hibbo, if you were starting again.
If I was in Wildcard,
Yeah.
Salah, Palmer, Saka.
Mo?
Haaland, Salah, Saka. If I could afford it.
Yeah, I like it. Lovely stuff, boys. Right, let's have a look at some fixtures very, very quickly because there are more teams alive than just those ones we were talking about for the last 20 minutes. This is the fixture ticker over the next 6 game weeks, and it is Wolves that are top. They have gone through their absolutely barren run in terms of nice fixtures, and they're going in some green pastures moving forward. So Wolves are top. Then we got Ipswich in second, Brentford in third. Feels like Brentford have had nice fixtures for a while, and it still just keeps on going. Then we've got Leicester, Everton, West Ham, and Arsenal. So Everton in fifth there, Mo. So you could keep DCL if you wanted to. Crystal Palace, Fulham as well. Right down the bottom, though, Brighton, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Southampton, and City. Liverpool are about halfway down this table, but they would be fourth if this was only a 3-game week table, which is worth mentioning because they do have Brighton, Aston Villa, and Southampton in the next 3. So I'm looking at this, and first thing I want to ask, and Mo, I was going to come to you first. Wolves are top of this. Few people are going to be moving on to Wolves assets. We've already mentioned Cunha. Talk us through, are there any other Wolves assets you think are worth investing in?
I think Nori's already been a very popular one. The ones that went last week, fair play to them. They got an attack in return. He's a good one for that price for these fixtures. We're not sure if he's going to keep the same formation. I know he changed the formation by the end of the game, but regardless, he's a good 4.5 million, so I think that's a decent one there. Larson potentially up top. I think he is, in theory, the main number 9. He's getting the minutes as well. He's another popular choice, cheaper than Cunha as well. For me, they're the 3 options for Wolves, and they have got good fixtures. And yeah, I think they will be good assets as well.
Yeah, Hibbo, I would love to have talked about all the fixtures for a bit longer, but Brighton at the bottom there. Do you feel like Callum should finally be moving off Barco?
He's with them, Barco coming back on loan from Seville. But no, I think like Brighton's kind of bottom of table balling here is largely due to the 2 next fixtures. Liverpool and Man City.
Mm-hmm.
It gets great beyond that. So I think we're going to be watching kind of training packs and stuff like that because we're talking about Solanke, we're talking about these kind of misfiring forwards in your team, and maybe from kind of game week 12, game week 13 especially, with Southampton at home, João Pedro could come back in the menu, and he's going to be, see by the time João Pedro comes back, he's going to be like 5.2, 5.3 million. It's going to be ridiculously cheap. So I think now, like, nobody's really interested in them, but they're a team that maybe in 2 or 3 weeks' time will be really on there, I think.
Yeah,
I think Welbeck will be very popular.
He's been amazing.
Great season. Yeah,
amazing.
He's been incredible. Like the quality of the goals he's scoring as well. So yeah, like you said, Hibbo, from game week 12, I think our interest, we will start looking at Brighton.
Yeah. And last but not least as well, we didn't even mention him in our premium mid section, which probably says a lot for how he's done so far this season. Mo, Phil Foden, we've already been spoken about the fact that, do we move off Haaland? Phil's done nothing really, and he obviously didn't even start one of the games. Should you be moving off him now with Bournemouth and Brighton coming up next, or should you hold for the next 2 weeks?
I think obviously depending on your team situation, what I mean by that is how many transfers you have. Because if you're telling me you can get to Foden, to either Saka or Palmer, I'll say do it. If you can't straight away, then give him the next game at least while you build up the transfers, because it was encouraging in the last fixture. Like Haaland, very frustrating, but he did have a good XA and XG in theory. He should have scored. He should have got a couple of assists. So it was not too bad. It was encouraging. And the most important thing from that game is he played 90 minutes. Because before then, he's been a big problem. 17 minutes, 24 minutes. He's been, a big part player. Yeah. So hopefully, if the minutes increase, I think Foden could eventually start coming back into this conversation we're talking about.
Yeah. I think the key thing with Man City this week is they're a Saturday kickoff at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
So like, Andy, you're in a position where you have Foden. I'm the same. Do you have Foden, Mo?
Yes. Yeah, I bought him
so
last week.
We're basically going to kind of watch around deadline time to see if there's any kind of leak at all. And with Man City, there invariably is these days. Like, we normally find out roughly who's going to be on the team come 3 o'clock. So if it's a case of Foden's not on, like, you perform a bit of surgery and you maybe get him out, or you have the option to bench him if you feel like you really need the role to get you a slightly better player. But I think that option is there. If we get the Saturday and it's Rico Lewis starts, Foden starts, they're nice differentials. Foden's going to be only a couple of percent EO, and he's going to be away to Bournemouth. And like, I'm happy enough to roll that dice. I think if I know he's going to start, I'm more than happy.
Hibbo, sure. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say I'd go one level above that. I don't think they're nice differentials. I think they're wee differentials. Go on, man.
They are,
no, I was going to say, how long can we, surely Foden now becomes a sure thing in this team? I mean, he's arguably one of their best players last season. He's the Premier League player of the season. I mean, I'm not quite sure what he's done with Pep. I know his performances in the Euros were poor, and a lot of Man City fans will say even when he has had minutes, he hasn't been delivering his high standards. But we are talking about an elite player in here, not playing, and Gundogan, who we love, by the way, but he's had a difficult season himself. So I do find it strange, and I'm hoping last week's fixture, got the 90 minutes, Pep's possibly looked at him and thought, I'm happy with his performance, and maybe he starts becoming locked in. A lot of us thought, he's going to be playing wide because they've got injuries wide. No, Pep, he played Nunes wide and he played him central, which is good for us. Yeah. Very good. But if he's got the minutes, he's okay to hold for the next couple, I know it's frustrating, but I think he's all right.
I think he's a worry moving forward. I really do. I feel like he's somebody that you're going to be looking at every week. I don't think it's the same as last year. I feel like you said, he's not wanting to play him wide, and Gundogan's there as well. I feel like every week it could be, Foden might not play this week. So I think it's a real tough one. With the fact we haven't even mentioned Foden in that premium mids in terms of owning him last year, that would have been sacrilege. Whereas this year, I just feel like it's completely different now, unfortunately. So. But if you've already got him, I think, like you said, you wait for a leak and you see whether he's playing this week. But fingers crossed. Right,
it's all down to the transfer request. Sorry, Mo, what was that?
No, I was going to say, if you carried on like this, Foden has to put in a transfer request and follow in the same steps as Palmer. Because obviously he rates himself as one of the world's best players. So he's not going to just accept being on the bench. No chance. Impossible.
I think for us, fantasy-wise, he's at such a tricky price. He's low nines, and if you slap an extra million onto that, you're Saka territory. What's Saka every week? Saka just has a ball in a string. He's just unbelievable. He's got pens. He's got 90 minutes. He does a wee lump walk whenever he's had a stinker. He's got everything, and Foden just doesn't have even any of that stuff. I don't know. I think he's very much kind of on the tightrope for me. He's gonna go. But I'll be watching Saturday to see, look, is he on the team and then he plays for me? That's fine.
This is going into a deeper conversation here.
If he's not starting this week, would you get rid of him?
Well, if he's not starting,
get the league,
if we get the league,
he's not starting,
yeah, I think so.
I've left myself a well tricky position because I don't have the money to get the Saka straight away.
Yeah, same. I don't either.
Same.
And I could get the Son, but then the language from Ange. It's we're trying to have him ready for Villa. It's what's going on with Son? Is he fit or is he not fit? Because to me, looking from the outside, he's not really 100% fit. And they're managing some kind of issue. And that's what that sounds like to me. You spend time with a physio and it's not 100%. And you could look beyond Aston Villa and go, he's got the Ipswich and the Fulham. Is he going to rest him for them fixtures? If he's not 100% fit, is he going to play him for those fixtures? It remains to be seen. So, and he's got international break. Does he go to Korea?
Paul O'Keefe came out, didn't he, and said that basically he could have started last week, but they really went on the side of caution because they didn't want to play him, and then something happened, and then he's out for 10 weeks. So they basically said, we're not going to play him in that game, but he's pretty much said there's no reason why he shouldn't be starting the next game. So you think that was okay, but it's just really interesting, this thing about Foden. I feel like you've just said it there about the fact that he's not on the same levels as Saka, but last year he was. Last year he 100% was, whereas something's changed this year in terms of Pep being terrified of teams counter-attacking the transitions. They have suffered this year because of that, and Gundogan's obviously come back and they've got injuries, and it's really not helping Foden. And Mo's just mentioned it there. Obviously he's one of their best players, and arguably, he won Player of the Year last year or whatever, didn't he? And you think, how is he not playing? But we're mentioning that for Foden, who won the league and Player of the Year last year, and then we're debating whether Bruno's going to stay in the team. It's crazy how 1 year can change so differently. And I think with Foden, with those other premium mids, if you can free up a mil and move up from Foden, 100% you've got to do it. But I didn't expect to go on for that for so long, but it was interesting chatting about it.
That was good.
Yeah. Let's have a look at some bust teams then. So this is my bust team this week. I've got Flecken in goal. Then I've got Gabriel at the moment, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be benching Gabriel for Milinkovic, who's got West Ham at home. That looks like a nice fixture. Pedro Porro and Lewis. Then I've got Foden, Mbumo, Rogers and Palmer with Wood, Solanke and Haaland up top. And Haaland is my captain, and he will be this week. I am pretty sure I'm going to roll this week. I'm feeling the lack of Liverpool is the only thing I'm a bit like, ugh. But I can't own them all, and I can't move to a Liverpool asset I like very quickly. So the only one I'd really want to get is Salah anyway, and I can't move to him. So the only issue I've got is I do need to come up with some contingency if Foden is benched. I don't know what that contingency is quite yet, if I'm perfectly honest. It'd be probably moving someone down so I can move someone up, but again, I'm not loving all the options. I'd love to be able to move just straight to Saka, but obviously that's not really an option either. So, yeah, that's how I'm looking at the moment. Roll is most likely, unless we hear some Foden news, basically. But apart from that, the majority of the team's not looking too bad. Apparently, Flecken's just saved the penalty in the shootout, so he's in form. Hibbo, let's have a look at your team. You're looking very similar to me because you keep copying my moves. Talk us through it.
That's why I thought started to do so bad. So anyway, I've got one free transfer and like 0.7 million on the bank. So I've gone from feeling kind of quite flexible in my approach to feeling quite restricted because I don't have any transfers, I don't have any money. But from back to front, I'll go through my team. So I've got Flecken away to Fulham. He stinks. I don't care about the save penalty. and on the future, he's going to be one of these points that I'm actually going to, people say, oh, don't make goalkeeper transfers. He goes at some point. On defence, I've got Rico Lewis, Pedro Porro's at home to Villa, and I've got Gabriel away to Newcastle. Now, he's obviously an injury doubt, Gabriel. Makalenko's on reserve, but I'm going to have to watch those three because does Lewis play Bournemouth? That's a question which kind of could cause me a bit of an issue. In midfield, I've got Mbumo against Fulham. He's grand. Foden we've covered in depth. I've got Rogers and Palmer away to Spurs and United respectively. So there's obviously doubts about the Foden minutes. Rogers had a wee dip in minutes here as well, and we kind of expected this to happen. Like, you know, he wasn't going to always stay 90-minute man. And, you know, I think some of those teams that we're talking about, optimal teams that have like Salah, Saka, Palmer, no Haaland, they don't have a Rogers. You know, they maybe have an Eze who maybe has a wee bit more upside, although he hasn't really done much recently. Up top, I've got Haaland, and I've got the two blank machines, DCL and Solanke. And at the minute, I can't really get rid of them because Solanke's got Southampton. I'm never seeing them before that. Or DCL's got Southampton, and then Solanke's got the good fixtures to come. So I think we stay with it. What's my thought process at the minute? Try and save as the transfer is the first thing. But what I normally do is a wee exercise. I'll kind of look at a hypothetical wildcard for this week. I'll look at one for wildcard 11. I'll look at one for wildcard 12. And I'll try and aim my team to steer to get back on track to nearly like wildcard optimal in 2 or 3 weeks' time. And I think the only way to do that sometimes is to kind of take one on the chin and save a transfer. So that's roughly the plan.
Do you think Gabriel's a sell?
I wish I sold him last week, to be honest. But it was an option to go to 8 Nuri, but I would say wait to see how it develops with Arteta. But like meaningfully, what kind of news are we going to get from Arteta? You know, he says things are great. That means the player doesn't play. He says things are terrible. It means the boy hiding in the washing and plays the game. So I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards I could keep and just play Makalenko, but that depends on Rico Lewis for me. You know, we're looking at him wearing this brace on his knee, which seems to be like a Cullen type device. So I don't really know if that's any kind of worry. But again, we're going to want to see training packs. You know, if we don't see him train, it's going to be a major concern before the weekend. But I can't keep moving out injured players. Like Mo talked about this before he came on. You know, you end up firefighting week by week. You need to at some point kind of dip in and start to use a wee bit of depth in your squad. Although I don't really have much at the minute. So the fixtures will turn for Semenyo in the next week. So we'll have a wee bit of depth there to kind of be able to drop him in and out. But I'm leaning towards a save. If I was selling Gabriel, I can maybe move to 8 and then have cash in the bank for those kind of midfield upgrades. You know, say we had a scenario where Gabriel misses out and Foden misses out, and we get that kind of advanced news. Well, then I just go double change. I just do double change and just get it done. Do you know what I mean?
But you could do it for free the next week.
But if there's a chance they make the points in the week that you're on, sometimes too, it's even though it's for -4, like it's if I knew both were definitely out and my bench was stressed, I would maybe consider it. Like,
God, I didn't think I'd be taking hits this year. With rolling free transfers. And,
I don't want to take a hit.
Mo, talk us through your bust team, my man.
Right. So unlike you two, I've actually got a good goalkeeper. Sales versus West Ham. So that's a bit different to you two. So I'm hoping Nottingham Forest have been incredible this season. Defensively, numbers perfect. So let's hope he can get another clean sheet. Or he got an assist last week, so maybe a goal. Let's see. But Trent against Brighton, hopefully the last two, he's had 2 blanks, and for that price, I don't want to see a third in a row. So let's hope he can get back to clean sheets. Gabriel, as Hibbo just touched on, he would make my life easy if we found out he was long term, because I would have removed him for what you just said, Nori, which means the money's there for Foden to Saka. But part of me also thinks if it's short term, keep him. We're going to want our Arsenal defenders. They're going to be highly owned, and Arsenal, let's face it, they're going to still be the best defense. They're having a bit of a wobble at the moment, combination of tricky fixtures, and they picked up injuries here and there. But once they're back and they got their flow, they're defensively too strong. And Lewis, who's been pretty good for that price playing. I'd rather have Vardy, of course, but we will take it. Midfield, similar to you guys, we've got Rodgers against Spurs. I quite like the matchup. Spurs, how they play, I think it would suit Rodgers. Mbumo's been a star, Palmer and Foden. Hopefully he turns out to be a gem for us three. We'll own him. And up front, who's the new transfer, Raul Jimenez, I'm excited for this fixture. The way Brentford defend and the way Fulham are putting up the attacking numbers, surely there's a return there for me. Then Calvert-Lewin. I'll be honest with you, we've been talking about this guy here. He's in my dreams, this guy. Nightmares, I should say. We've been talking about potentially moving Gabriel or Foden. Do you know, honestly, this is not even just clickbait. I'm genuinely considering moving him out. I know Hibbo and saying, like, look at the fixture, Southampton away. He might not even start. I know I'm creating a narrative for myself if he came off a little bit earlier and his substitute scored, but I don't know. He doesn't fill me with confidence. I don't really want to see him in my team, and that shouldn't be a good reason to take him out. But Cunha coming in this week, then it means I can't save up the transfer to fix Foden to, like we said, Saka. But I am honestly considering that. I'm so tempted to pull the trigger on that. And last, Haaland's the captain. Bench, I've got similar to Hibbo, so Semenyo and Mikalenko, who would come in for Gabriel if he's out.
Yeah.
So that's the team for this week. I would like to roll, but I'm also would like to get rid of DCL.
Yeah, I like the Jimenez against Brentford. I think that's a nice little differential to have up there. Right, let's have a look at Nacho's Wildcard. So he has Mo's beloved Sells in goal with Fabianski on the bench. Fabianski obviously started this weekend, by the way. Very, very interesting. Areola on the bench. He's got Nori, Vandenberg, Anthony Robinson, Konate, and Lewis. I like the Konate pick there. I thought that when I saw it. And I like the fact he's gone very, very cheap in his defence. Then he's got Salah, Son, Mbumo, Palmer, and Bruno Fernandes in the middle, with Raul Jimenez, Cunha, and Wood up top. So no striker costs more than 6.5 million. He's got no Haaland. He's got Salah, Son, and Mbumo, Palmer, Bruno in the middle. Bruno I'm less happy to see there, but the rest is obviously very, very nice there. No Saka either. For me personally, obviously we'll move to both of you and see what you think about this one. I think I'd be wanting Saka, but obviously he's got Son in there because he wants Son for 11 and 13, you'd assume. But I'm surely he can, not having Haaland, but to have Bruno Fernandes, there's something that's gone a little bit wrong there. Hibbo, what do you think about his wild card?
I think it's okay. Like if I was kind of thinking myself about like which players, like we kind of touched on that briefly, or locks, I would want like a fair kind of sprinkle on Liverpool, like, Salah and Trent Arnold. I'll be thinking kind of Palmer, Bumo, Saka, maybe even Eze if you were going to go cheap. And like I take most points in Cunha, like they're very good. So no, that would be roughly the way I'm going to go, which I suppose isn't a million miles from where Nacho was. But no, I think solid enough. Like the real question for Nacho was, is he going to play this wildcard? Because every week we hear this toot and claptrap about going to wildcard, and then it doesn't happen. Like, and it's just. He just makes some kind of random transfer close, like, and he does a poll on Twitter, and then he makes the transfer. So, no, I think the debate's out whether he's going to actually pull the trigger. I think he's going to wildcard in 12.
Yeah. Take control of your life, Callum. Come on. Mo, what do you think?
It's a nice team. I love the front three. If you're going to go no Haaland, that's the front three I'd go with. The difference is, again, I'm going to be a bit boring and say like Hibbo, I'd possibly turn Canute into Trent, Son into Saka, and then Bruno's money into the best I can afford in that position.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. It's a bit boring, but I'll definitely, if I'm not going no Haaland, I'm going to have the three premiums in midfield, 100%. There's no way.
I think that point that you're making around Bruno's good. Like, you know, if he dropped even Bruno down to like an easy in that position, he's got that wee bit of cash to do the other kind of moves that you're talking about there, Trent, etc. You know, and just beef up that backline a wee bit. Like Van der Beek could be okay, but I don't know if long term I would want to be rocking with like 4 mil, 4.5, 4.6, 4.6. Do you know what I mean? Like it's long term. I don't really think it's the one. Like, you know.
Yeah. Cage Paps, by the way, says, why Wolves assets? They've been terrible. Yeah. It's just the fixtures, isn't it? Like Eight Nori is one of the biggest upside defenders at the moment. And Cunha's look good as well. So it's literally just playing the fixtures. Community team. Oh dear, boys. Community team did well this week. The community team scored 69 points. Oi, oi. We used one of our 2 free transfers to sell Saka to Parma. So the same move as me, and obviously didn't get a lot from it. But they did use their triple captain chip on Haaland and got 18 points there. So they had a 400k green arrow up to 1.1 million. I mean, it's lovely to see that they have to use their triple captain chip just to keep up with me. Fair enough. Fair enough. Right. I'll use mine for a solid 6 points at the end of the season, probably. But solid week from you, 69. It's hard work to intentionally get 69 points, so fair play to you. But no, looking good this week, community team, and well played. Looking fairly good moving forward as well, I would say. Going to be playing Ola Aina this week instead of Gabriel, I would have thought. So looking not too bad. So well done. Right. Let's have a little bit of a Q&A and then we'll get finished. We've got about 3 minutes until it's 1:15, which will be an hour and a quarter, which is usually what I aim for, between an hour and a quarter. So chuck us in your questions. 3 minutes. We'll answer as many as possible. I think we peaked at about 500 people watching tonight. So thank you so much. Oh, no, we got 550 currently watching. So lovely stuff. So chuck in your questions. We'll answer as many as possible in the last 3 minutes. I hope you've enjoyed it so far anyway. Simon Eek, planning on getting rid of Haaland. Who would you sell to make space for Salah? Johnson or Rodgers? I like Johnson short term, but maybe Rodgers is better for team structure long term. So, Mo, I'll go to you first, mate. If you had to get rid of Johnson or Rodgers, who would you get rid of to get Salah in?
I'd get rid of Johnson.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like Rodgers. I know the fascination with Spurs attacking numbers and whatnot, but yeah, I like Rodgers. Solid. Aston Villa, very strong. They're going to challenge for the top 4. Yeah. His minutes are good. Having said that, I know he got taken off earlier in the last game week, but surely that was just a tactical thing, and we don't see that sticking. So, yeah.
Hibbo, Belfast Bunch says, are international breaks a good thing for you folks?
For us, it kind of feels like a holiday because, like, when you work on, we work in the industry as such, like, you know, it feels like a wee bit of a break for us. But I think FPL wise, it kind of slows the momentum down a bit. We touched on this last week. It's that you can be in a bit of a groove, and then next thing you kind of switch off completely for 2 weeks, and it's hard to get started. We have another one in November, believe it or not. Like it's like crazy, when are these going to end? Nations League, get it in the bun.
Larry Wheels' left bicep says, any guesses what the mystery chip might be? Strikers can get clean sheets and double attack and returns for defenders, maybe. What do you reckon, Mo? What do you think this mystery chip is?
I think they're going to do something like you can have 2 or 3 captains in one game week.
Ooh, nice.
I think for me, I think the mystery chip is like, I'm going to be allowed to sell Flecken. Be a good one.
That'd be nice. Or maybe they force Callum to Wildcard. That'd be quite nice as well. Be good. Yeah. I've got a feeling it's going to be something like Rich Uncle, where it's you get to pick whatever team you want for a week.
With no limitations in the budget or
no limit.
Something like that would be quite nice. I say nice. We'll see what happens. And last one, Shaq says, I have Virgil van Dijk and Anthony Robinson and can do the switch to 8 Nori in one move. However, 8 Nori and Virgil van Dijk both on 4 yellows. What to do? That is a good point, actually. I can't remember who I went to last. I think it's Mo next. What do you think? 8 Nori obviously on 4 yellows. Do you think it's worth the move now?
Yeah. If you're going to go for him, if he's in your long-term plan for the Wolves fixtures, they go on for a long time, the good green fixtures. And if you want a cheap attacking, he's got 5 attacking returns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous. Like you said, for 4.5 million, it's a no-brainer. If you really want that and it helps, like, yes, there's a small risk. You bring him in and then he's going to miss one game. It's not the end of the world for 4.5 million. Surely you've got another one on the bench that you could rotate with. But once he's back, he's a perfect option. Yeah.
Sorry, Shax, by the way, I read it as VVD, but it was VDV, and it was Van der Ven he owns. Apologies. But still the same answer anyway. Yeah. Lovely stuff. Right, thank you so much, chat, for your questions, and thank you so much for sticking with us tonight as well. Like I said, 550, not bad at all. And thank you so much for everybody that is listening afterwards, or people that are listening on the pod as well, because we appreciate each and every one of you. Mo, thank you so much for joining us again. Like I said, we only need you on for one more, and you get a hat-trick ball, but you're as lovely as ever. I hope you enjoyed your evening.
No, that was lovely. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's always good fun talking FPL with you too.
Nah, good man. And Hibbo, thank you so much for joining us again, obviously. We'll be on with us again next week, I'm hoping.
Every week, buddy.
Oh, every week.
And besides, you know what? There's nobody's made the comment about your hair. Like, your hair looks absolutely amazing today. You got a wee haircut during the week.
I did indeed. Thank you so much for noticing. Right. Thank you so much, everybody that's joined us. So like I said today, we hope your arrows are green moving forward. Remember, it is a Saturday morning deadline. So we will see you all again very, very soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good luck.